Follow along in the footsteps of Nighthawk, the grim avenger of the Squadron Supreme. All this and more on the pages of Heroes Reborn, issue number 5. Let's hop on it together and find out what happens next, shall we? Alrighty then, so once again as we begin this story, we are in a world without the Avengers, and the spotlight is being shone on one Kyle Richmond. By day, he's a well-to-do politician for DC, which means he doesn't actually get anything done, but by night, he becomes the avenging Nighthawk. A very clear Batman stand-in who has been called in by Commissioner Luke Cage, follow the tie-ins if you want to know more about that, to deal with a breakout at Ravencroft Asylum. Now, much like Dr. Spectrum from the previous issue, this version of Nighthawk, who is still very much under the sway of President Coulson and his master Mephisto, is a lot darker, grimmer, and crueler than we're used to seeing the character before. In fact, he literally opens fire on Kraven and a bunch of other patients attempting to escape from Ravencroft, which is clearly their Arkham stand-in. What I positively love, though, is Nighthawk's internal monologue. He talks about the hard life he had growing up to rich but unloving parents who always pawned him off on butlers and nannies. After they died, he swore that he would avenge them and fill the loveless void in himself, but in reality, it wasn't to try and make any parental figures proud. Oh no, it was about trying to deal with his own issues. In fact, one of the more interesting takes on Nighthawk is he's shown to be a complete and utter hypocrite. He knows full well that all the criminals he spends his night brutalizing probably have as bad, if not worse, origin stories than him. But he ultimately does it anyway because he doesn't really so much care about justice as he does serving his own interests. In fact, the real cherry on this hypocrisy Sunday comes when we realize that just hours before he started gunning down mental patients, he was actively trying to get Congress to pass brand new funding for mental health programs all over America. Wow, and he gets out of that meeting by making use of a life model decoy. Wow, I bet Bruce Wayne wishes he had one of those. Now, you may or may not have noticed that the actual title of this story is The Pageant of the Master's Nocturnal Artistry, which is a super mouthful of a title right on par with Arkham Asylum, A Serious House on Serious Earth. And that is most definitely the sort of Batman story that they're riffing on here. We get to see Nighthawk do battle with a bunch of the inmates of the Ravencroft Asylum, only instead of Killer Croc, it's the Lizard, and instead of Victor Zsasz, it's Bullseye. Actually, a lot of Nighthawk's villains seem to be repurposed Spider-Man villains, as it seems that Kyle more or less weaseled into the life that was supposed to be Peter Parker. Right down to going to Battleworld and coming back with an alien symbiote, which eventually left him and joined Johann Schmidt to become the Black Skull, as well as having a romantic tryst with Black Cat, who naturally becomes the Catwoman of this universe. Nighthawk continues to fight his way through the halls of the asylum before eventually coming face to face with what I can essentially call the sub-boss of the Breakout, Deadpool, who in this universe has taken on the guise of a Harley Quinn type, right down to having a big smashing hammer. Again, a pretty funny little reference when we stop and consider that Harley Quinn had begun life as a much more serious, if slightly comedic character, only to go right into comedy around the time she blew up, more or less doing a Deadpool shtick. Deadpool is working for the mastermind behind the Ravencroft Breakout, a man who goes by the moniker Mr. G. Yeah, naturally it's Green Goblin. If anyone was going to be the Joker of this piece, who else but Norman Osborn? Goblin has taken captive Nighthawk's beloved ward and sidekick, Gwen Stacy, or Night Gwen as she is occasionally called in this world because she's got to put her own name in there somewhere. Kyle, we discover, actually hates Norman Osborn more than just any other villain, but for some rather interesting reasons. You see, Kyle knows full well that he is positively insane, a sociopath by any definition. But he came to that point in his life organically. Norman, on the other hand, lost his mind after a lifetime of experimenting on himself with Goblin formula. He's a self-made madman, and that really pisses Nighthawk off. In fact, Kyle says he probably would have killed the Goblin years ago were it not for the fact that Norman had actually killed his original sidekick, Sam Wilson. Sam Wilson essentially taking the place of Jason Todd in this brand new warped universe for this warped Batman. And no, the irony isn't lost on me at all that a guy whose power is to fly was killed by getting thrown off a bridge. Nighthawk refused to kill Goblin then because he didn't want to give him the satisfaction of having actually beaten him at his own game. Now the plan, though, is to infect Gwen with Goblin formula and have her attack her mentor. Nighthawk ultimately wins and again opts to spare Osborn's life, but Osborn doesn't doesn't want to play that game anymore and tries to kill himself. Before he dies, though, he is sure to share with Kyle the secrets that only a madman could possibly know, and that is that the world is changed, that it is not how it has always been, and in fact, Osborn is the second person to tell Nighthawk this. Kyle returns to his cave under Congress to go over the security tapes from Ravencroft, and wouldn't you know it, the person who got out first before anyone else was Echo. And oh look, she didn't break out alone either, she had help from Blade and Captain America. The Avengers are slowly but surely reuniting, which means the Squadron Supreme better get worried. Now, once again, before the comic comes to a close, we get ourselves a fun little backup. We see Nighthawk doing battle with Ronan, who was attempting to break into Squadron headquarters and steal some files. Obviously, part of the fun with Ronan is that there's been lots of different Ronans over the years, so it's hard to tell who's under the mask, judging solely by the internal monologue. Eventually, though, this Ronan ends up teleporting away and shedding the ninja costume away to reveal that it's actually T'Challa, Black Panther, underneath it all. Interesting, too, T'Challa is wearing his original Black Panther costume and not the newer movie-inspired one. As the comic comes to a close, Black Panther is just the newest member to join Blade, Captain America, and the Fellowship of Old Avengers looking to set the world right. And so that was Heroes Reborn issue number 5, everybody, and much like the Dr. Spectrum issue that preceded, I gotta say, Jason Aaron is actually pulling out some of his most creative flares here during the middle part of this Heroes Reborn story. We've certainly seen so many takes before on what if Batman but evil to the point that it's almost cliche. I respect Aaron for not going into full-on cartoon supervillainy, but going as far as to say, hey, what if Batman was a hypocrite and was aware of it? The answer is he may not be 100% a bad guy. In fact, he may go out of his way to try and help people sometime, if only as cover for his own bad behavior, but he certainly wouldn't be a hero. Nor is he like any other version of Nighthawk we've ever seen before, who, unlike other members of the Squadron Supreme, Nighthawk actually did get a fair amount of solo focus here and there. You gotta wonder, when Heroes Reborn is over, will these Aaron versions of the characters end up sticking, or will we see them return to their more original, closer to the actual Justice League state? Ultimately, I did actually end up having a lot more fun with this one than I thought I would. I would give this one another very positive 8 out of 10, and I hope the creativity keeps going as we head into the latter part of this series.
Hey there everyone, Cape Joel again, and I want to thank you so much for watching to the end of the video. As always, if you liked what you see, be sure to like, subscribe, comment. It really helps drive engagement and helps me out too. Also, if you are a patron, which you can become for as little as $1 a month, you will get exclusive content that no one else can ever see, and you'll get to see the Comic Multiverse podcast before anyone else too. You can check out all this and more down in the description. And until next time everyone, this has been Cape Joel, and I'll see you all next time. Cheers.